Sorry, it always freaks me out. To maybe, as long as I've been doing this stuff, I always expect you guys to look like drunks, and you don't ever look like drunks. I mean, the women look drop dead gorgeous, and the guys always look sort of desperate and needy, and I know I resemble that statement. Honest, I feel your pain. My name is Myers Raymer, and I'm an alcoholic. I took my last nasty drink on January 15th, 88, and my home group is the Primary Purpose Group in Dallas, Texas, the home of a bunch of big old crusty big book thumpers, and and they would love to see this. I wish there was a way to stay within the confines of the traditions and take pictures, because they got to see this. It'd be amazing stuff. I want to thank JR and those guys that got this thing started. JR was the first contact that I had that you guys were going to do this. I met the committee that actually made the decision to do this last night, and what an absolute group of lovely people. Just blown away by the generosity. You guys are super. And if you've never had an opportunity to do one of these deals, go volunteer sometime. You'll never say another unkind thing about a chairperson as long as you live, because it is an unbelievably difficult task to get a whole bunch of drunks all moving in the same direction to try to get something done. And it's like herding cats. You know, you think you got it all over here, and then all of a sudden it scoots out this side like this, and it just like I've never met a chairperson of a conference yet that I didn't say, "So how's it going?" And they says, "I need a drink so desperately." I know. Golly. Guys, I got 25 minutes to talk about some story stuff, and then we're going to get into the meat of the stuff that I came to talk about, which is sponsorship. And there's nothing in the world that I'm more passionate about than that. And it wasn't always like that, guys. It was Chris, the evil twin. He was evil when we were growing up, and he's evil in sobriety. It's just Chris 12-stepped me after a number of years. Any of you guys ever have guys in your life that you go, if I ever get as bad as that sumbitch, I'm going to stop drinking? You ever get a guy like that? Well, Chris is my guy. And I'd look at him and I'd go, I'll never be like that. And then, you just kind of watch this progressive thing take you down a notch and down a notch and down a notch, and you just find yourself doing all kinds of crazy things. In the last 6 months that I drank, I got in two major fisticuffs, one in a pizza place of all places, as I tried to choke the living crap out of some big old guy with a big old hat. And I don't remember what it was all about, but they were beating me off of this poor guy with a beer pitcher, and my 3-year-old daughter standing right there watching the whole thing. It was, that kind of fun. Jerry Springer kind of crap, and it's not what I had, on my want list as an adult, was to be like this. And so, I got whacked upside the head in a liquor store in Lake Dallas because I was going to go up and kill him, but he knew it. And anyway, just two things come to mind every time I think about my past: fear and depression. Those two things. And it's just like, I'm not sure that when I came here, I'm not sure that I stopped because I wanted to stop drinking. The fear is consuming me inside, and I can't do anything without booze. I'm the guy that's got to drink a 12-pack before he goes to the grocery store. I'm the guy that can't go anywhere without being loaded. I'm a functioning alcoholic. I've been working drunk for a long, long time, but it was one of those kind of deals where all of a sudden things are changing. I drink 3 beers and turn around and walk into a wall. I can't talk. My wife is just like, yeah, what's going on? You can imagine what this is like. Chris, for a long time, lived with us. And so we got Chris and me, 2 practicing active alcoholics living in this house with this little 3-year-old girl, and my wife is at the work trying to hold our business together. And, you get the picture. It's just a nightmare at the old Raymer household. It was horrible. Chris finally has a crawful and says, I'm done. He has a blackout. And there's a guy that worked for us at the bindery that decided that had 12-step Chris, and he showed Chris where some stuff was, and he kind of got him involved. Chris had been trying to do it. He'll tell you in just a minute what it was about. But I walked they talk about this thing being a program of attraction rather than promotion. Chris never one time, he walks into AA, he sobers up, and he never one time tried to sell me on the idea of Alcoholics Anonymous. He just lived his life. And I'm watching this guy, this knife-wielding nutcase, and I'm watching how his life is changing. He's coming to work early. He's working all day. He's going to a 6:30 meeting. He's coming back after the meeting, doing a little work, getting all cleaned up, getting ready for the next morning's work, goes home. And I'm going, what is all this? And it's just a weird, you know how it is, you've seen guys like that in your life, and I just watched him change, and I just went, I gotta have that. So Chris takes me to my first meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous, and it's just like, you guys remember your first meeting of AA? When you walked in, I'm looking at the floor. I don't want to meet anybody's eyes. I don't want to, there's a part of me that doesn't want to be associated with you losers. And then we talk a little bit, and then I feel this warmth, and I feel this kind of, the smoke level starts sinking in the room like this as everybody's got 3 cigarettes going. But there were something, guys, that I hadn't heard in a long time. Laughter. There was a bunch of guys laughing and having a great time, and I thought, this may not be so bad. I might be able to do this. And it was. For a good bit of time, AA was the coolest thing I'd ever experienced in my entire life. And then it began to change. So I changed some too. Our group, the dynamics of our group began to change. And you know how it is? We get this allegiance to the groups that we sobered up in, and it's like, these guys could have overnight become axe murderers, and I would have still been sitting in that same room. I just wanted to be there with them, and I couldn't believe. It's like when your kid starts doing crazy things and goofy things, and you go, I don't want to see it. I want to pretend that nothing's happening. And that's what was going on in that little AA group. We went from a core membership of about 400 people, and people are slipping and sliding like big dogs, and everybody's leaving, and we're all making excuses why they're leaving. And I didn't know the reason for a long time why they were leaving. They were leaving because we had systematically worked a program of Alcoholics Anonymous out the door. And then we took God and we moved God way, way, way off to the left someplace. And the meetings got, in Iceland they call them dark tunnel meetings. And it's just really appropriate. Dark tunnel meetings. It has all kinds of connotations, and they all fit. These meetings were so toxic that nobody could get sober. We still laughed a little bit, and we were still like this, but it was like the fellowship had built up around us, and we all embraced the fellowship, but we were all too afraid to let go and look at something called a program of Alcoholics Anonymous. And as a result, guys, listen, I am the poster boy of middle-of-the-road solution. There's nothing about middle-of-the-road stuff that I don't know, understand, and embrace. I love coming and talking about crap and you understand what I'm saying? I'm not standing up here from some spiritual mountaintop casting aspersions on you guys. But I've talked to thousands of drunks over the years that experienced exactly the same thing that I was going through. This feeling that there's got to be more than just showing up in a meeting and talking about Sally's divorce or John's inability to get a job or, like this. And we love these guys. I'd kill for those guys. And they for me. The kindest, gentlest, super people. And yet there was no solution there. And as a result, I began to get sicker and sicker and sicker. Now, Chris, this is why he's evil, because he deserted me. He marries this girl, moves to the hill country. He's got him a big book sponsor, Mark. And his life is changing. And I'm talking to him on a pretty regular basis, and he's going, you need to get out of there. You need to go do something else. And I'm going, okay, I will. So imagine this situation. Here we are. I'm 7 years sober, and I'm sitting in this meeting, same group, and I am crazier than a crap house rat. I can't begin to tell you. I'm writing hot checks all over Denton County. I can't keep my eyes off other women. This thing about suicide has crept in over the last couple of years. Any of you guys ever not think about suicide when you were drinking, and then in AA, that's all you can think about? I mean, it doesn't make any sense, but there it is. That's what I'm doing. Every day I'm thinking, I can't believe how unhappy I've become again. I can't believe how unhappy I am. And so we're sitting in this meeting, and there's this guy named Jim And Jim, I'm right at the end of the meeting, and it's this, this burning moment where I just got to say something, and I said, hey guys, I got to say goodbye. I'm not going to make it. I love you guys, but there's got to be more, and I just can't seem to find it. And Jim interrupts me, and I'll never forget it. I'd pimp slap him today if I could find him, but pimp slapping spiritual. It is. It's all in the way you do it. Jim interrupts me and he said, Myers, it's okay. And it's like he thinks I'm going to say something that's going to bring the meeting down, like it couldn't get any lower than it already was. And he goes, I have a solution, Myers. What you're probably not doing is you're not going to enough meetings. So what we think you need to do is just come to some more meetings. You'll get all plugged in again, and then it'll feel great. I'm going to 6 meetings a week already. I mean, how many meetings does it take to recover? But nobody's going to tell me that. They're just going to say, meeting makers make it. Keep coming back. Okay, super. I just remember walking out. It was hotter than a mother out in Texas. Seems like it's always hotter than a mother in Texas. And I walked out to my old Land Cruiser and I shut the door and I put my head down on the steering wheel and I just wept. I just couldn't stand it anymore. I didn't know what I was going to do. I don't want to drink again. I don't want to go back to being that kind of guy. I don't want to be the bully that I was when I got here. I don't want to be back in a situation where I'm pushing my wife around and I'm terrorizing my kids. And yet, day by day, that's where I'm going. I'm sliding right back into that in the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous, the walking wounded. And guys, I'm telling you, for a lot of years, I thought I was the only guy out there that ever experienced it. And I've had a lot of guys come up and just rip me up for talking about that stuff. Guys, there are tens of thousands of us in AA today that are dying sitting in meetings where the solution has no longer been carried. It is not there any longer. It doesn't make these men and women bad guys. It doesn't make them unkind. It doesn't make them anything else except maybe confused, maybe, I don't know. We come in, I'm too lazy to read the book, and I get spoon-fed somebody's version of AA. And I take a little from her, and a little from him, and a little from him, and you see what I'm saying? I read me a little outside issue literature. I get a little, and I begin to formulate this thing called my program of recovery. It bears no resemblance to this. And then, for some reason or other, I get baffled why it doesn't work. I get all caught off guard. Why? Well, God, I'm doing everything they say do. Everything. I tried sweat lodges. I tried this. I tried this. I got a non-stop list of things. There's nothing wrong with sweat lodges, promise you. I'm just saying, I'm trying everything in the world except this. Except this. So, I almost drank one night. I got real scared, which is no novel idea. And I called Chris. And I said, look, this is what happened. And he said, don't do anything. I'm going to be in Dallas here real quick, and I'll get you plugged in. Rumor has it there's a crusty old guy at this group, and we're going to get you plugged in. Just don't do anything. And I did. For 2 days, I just sat on my hands. For 2 days, I was simply afraid to do anything except be in the same room with my wife and be at work and then go home and pray she's there so I don't want to be anywhere by myself because I don't trust me anymore. So I meet this guy named Cliff. You guys have heard me talk about this stuff before, but I got to tell you guys, it's the weirdest deal. The part of this that you have to understand is that I know I'm dying, and I know the program that I'm working isn't working, and yet there's a part of me, this underlying piece of arrogance, that insists that you need to know everything I know about recovery, which is nothing. Which is nothing. But I run across guys like this all the time. I mean, I gotta love you, honest. So I meet this guy like this, and he looks at me like this, and it's just this, instantly I'm afraid of him, instantly I'm intimidated by him, instantly I don't like him, because he's got a big book, and he's talking big book stuff, and I'm going, we really don't need the big book in AA, and blah, 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 and like this, and he's just kind of looking at me like, I can imagine, all these years later, looking back at that conversation, Cliff Bishop should have, if it had been me, I'd have pimp slapped me. It's just crazy. But he sat me down in his living room and he took out a big book and he said, look, let's just read through some of this stuff. And in 30 minutes or 45 minutes, I don't remember, he just kind of carried me through some things. And he was asking me questions, always asking me questions. And there's a part of me that likes to be in the room, but don't ask me any questions. Because the questions always make me look what? Stupid. It makes me look really stupid because I don't know any of the answers. And every time he says, you understand this, don't you? Uh-huh. And he goes, no, you don't. And I go, like this. You know what I'm saying? I just want to be a compliant good boy. I don't want any conflict here, okay? I just want to be able to get up in the morning and smile. That's it. I just want to be able to get up, take the covers off my head and crawl out of bed and put my feet on the floor and go to work. I don't want to sit there afraid to move. And that's where I had become again. I got to tell you, one night we were sitting in a meeting. I think Chris was still at that group at the time. And there was this lady going, oh, I know about depression. Sometimes I get up and I'm just so blue and I'm just looking at Chris and Chris is looking at me. And guys, I'm not talking about being blue. I'm talking about being comatose. I'm talking about I can't move a muscle. I'm so frustrated and fearful and the depression is killing me. And I guarantee you guys, I love being sober. I be more whole wide world. I love not being depressed. I love not having that darkness about my life. And it's a fun thing. So what happened really quick was that I started going to these big book studies. We don't have any discussion meetings anymore. And I'm like a guy trying to steer clear of the crack. I mean, I'm just like, I hate discussion meetings. They're killing me, but I got to be in that meeting. It's like that. And he says, we have 3 meetings a week. They're all literature-based meetings. Come study with us. And I'm going, oh, God, study. I'm just going to die. And he says, do you think you'll be bored? And I says, I think I'll be bored spitless in 3 months. I think I'll be suicidal again. And he goes, just come on. And that's been, 13, 14 years ago now. And I'm telling you guys, it is the coolest thing I've ever experienced to do that. And in that meeting, we would talk about stuff, and I'd go, I never heard that. And I'd be looking through my book like this real fast, going back and forth, and I'd look over there at somebody else to see where there was. And then it finally dawned on me one day. I went, oh, wait a minute. They have the Teacher's Edition big book. They got all the good stuff. I just have the old basic 3rd edition crap, you know? They straightened me out real fast on that, and it just like. But the reality was that it only took minutes for them to realize that I simply don't know anything about the big book, and so the word got around. Hug Myers a lot, tell him you love him, tell him to come back, but don't let him talk because he doesn't know anything. And we'd sit down there like this, and they'd read a passage, and somebody would illuminate the passage, and it was succinct, it was dead on, and it needed no further illumination. But I had to illuminate, you see. So I'm going, pick me. And they're all looking at me like, okay, Myers. And then I'd share something that I'd gotten from some, God knows where I got it. I don't know. I just scraped it up in some meetings one time, and I'd share that, and everybody'd go. You'd see, in those days there were probably 50 guys in that meeting, and you'd see them all just kind of slide back in their chair like this. You talk about power in a meeting down. You see the life would just get sucked out of it like this. So they stopped calling me completely like this. Every time they were looking for somebody to illuminate, they'd always look over here. If I'm over here, they're all looking over here like this, going like this, and I'm over there waving like a madman like this. Now, real quick, guys, why would it be necessary for me to insist that they know what I know? And yet, guys, it was tangible. It was absolutely the most necessary thing in my life. I'm suicidal. I'm a nutcase. And I still want you to know how much I know about Alcoholics Anonymous, of all that spoon-fed wisdom. And it was crazy. It was simply crazy. And God love them. They finally you guys have all heard me tell the story about Cliff dropping the note on my table one night after I'd shared some pithy statement. And it was super. And so Cliff gets up and walks across the room at me like this, and he lays the note down in front of me, and he just keeps right walking. And that note slid across the table, and it landed in my lap, and I picked it up, and I looked at it, and it just said, "Why don't you shut up until you know what's in the book?" And I just went, huh. I forgot. I'm going, where's the love, Cliff? Now this man's I could take this from a rank and file, but not from my sponsor. I mean, it's just like, God dang, I want to be coddled. I want to be hugged. I want to be... And they'd had all they could stand. They didn't want any more of it. They were fed up with Myers. And then they got me on track, and they got me doing the things that I needed to do. And they got me out there on the firing line carrying a message of recovery, which I didn't want to do, and which we're going to talk about in an hour. This deal, this secret handshake of AA that so many of us search for and so few of us ever get, this deal of being willing to submit to a process of doing the work and then getting off and carrying that to somebody else. I am blown away by how often I talk to people who are sitting in meetings and go, well, you know, where our group is located in this particular church, we just don't get any newcomers, so I don't get a chance to sponsor anybody. Oh, God, go get them. The book is full of instruction. Go get them. On Tuesday night, there's 180 people at least at that meeting at Primary Purpose, all studying the big book. And those guys didn't come in out in AA land. They came from treatment places. They came from wind-up joints. They came from places that we wind up when we're through drinking. They came from jails. They came from the rest of these places. We went out, carried a message, 30-something meetings a week to other places, and then as those guys got healthy, they came back and joined us. And it's an army of big book guys all out there carrying the message. And the more people you got in the trenches, the easier it is for all of us to get people to understand what it is we're supposed to be doing. And we'll talk about some of that stuff in just a little bit. Clifford told me I wanted to go I wanted to be there, and I wanted to be a group. I wanted to be a part of the deal, but I'm still kind of standing off at a distance. And every time somebody says, hey, we need somebody to go here, I said, well, you mean this Thursday? Well, this Thursday I've got a problem, but hey, next Thursday, man, I'm your guy, man. I'll be there like this, knowing full well that I wasn't going to do it. See, there's still a part of me, although I understand the book better and I understand what I'm supposed to be doing. I've begun to have that spiritual experience. I understand all that, and yet I'm still listening to the stuff going on in my head. And my head tells me I'm not smart enough, I'm not bright enough, I'm not quick enough, I can't do this. You do it. I can't do it. And I buy that stuff. Well, the problem is with that scenario is that pretty soon, even though you know the book, you end up getting what? Sicker. You just start going back the other direction again. And pretty soon I'm sitting in the meeting that I used to feel energized in, and I'm getting sicker and sicker and sicker. And I don't like it. And so I talked to Clifford about it. He said, I'll tell you one more time, and then I want you to leave. And I said, you mean leave for tonight? And he said, no, leave this group completely. Go away. And I went, damn, this guy's just like mean. So he tells me what he wants me to do, and he wants me to go to Salvation Army, a room full of which seemed to me very angry men, and all of them sitting back like this with their arms crossed. They all had sunglasses on, and they were just, I don't know. And he knows I don't like it. I've been over there with him a bunch of times, and so we go in there like this. And I do this meeting that night, and at the end of this deal, there's this guy. It's the weirdest deal where we close our hands, we drop our hands at the end of the Lord's Prayer, and I remember this guy holding onto my hand on both sides, and I'm just thinking, oh, they're gonna hit me now. I just was terrified because they wouldn't let go of my hand like this. And this guy across the room says, hey, is there any chance you could come back here tomorrow night? And it was the weirdest thing that anybody had ever asked me in AA. Can you come back? And I remember these little dots going and connected up. And it just, all of a sudden I understood. Wait a minute. I think this is what they're talking about. This is what they mean about being a part of something bigger than me. And buddy, and then a couple of nights later, I went back into that same meeting again, and I remember I've told this story before. This guy Standing there, there's this black guy that's about this tall and his shoulders are about this big around. The biggest man I've ever seen to date. He was huge, and he was standing there and he's walking towards me, but he's walking a little too fast. You know how that is? And you guys remember those days in bars when people would walk at you a little bit too fast and you just like, and you know it's coming, buddy. And I'm thinking, here it is, the spanking. And this guy grabs me around the shoulders and pins my arms just like this. And my head is pushed into his chest just like this. And he picks me up and my little legs are going like this, down like this. It's just like, this man's going to, I'll tell you, to this day, I can still feel that guy's shirt on my face, and I can still, everything about that experience, I feel just like it was yesterday. And I've never in my life felt such love in my whole life. Here was this big guy like this that didn't give a rat's patootie about anybody around him. No, he didn't care. He was going to make dang sure that he knew, that I knew that he loved me. And I did. And buddy, he set me back down again and he said, I can't tell you how excited we are that you're back tonight. And I went, oh man. And I'm just like, I can't begin. I mean, I'm doing like this, trying to get the hair to quit standing up on the back of my neck. And I'm just like, is there anything cooler than that? We did our meeting that night and I got done like this. And this big black guy stands back there and he goes, hey, can you sponsor me? And about 5 other hands went bam, 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 like this. And now there's like 6 guys asking me to sponsor them out in the open, public even, like this. And I'm going, yeah. And then I'm looking, where's my cell phone? I got to call Clifford. Okay, big boy. Now what the hell do I do? Like this, like some crazy stuff. And that question, okay, now big boy, is exactly what we're going to talk about this morning and this afternoon. What do we do once we get this busted up little drunk here ready to do the stuff? And that's what that's all about. I love every one of you guys. Thank you.
Thank you. And our next speaker is going to be Chris.
And I did. And I went back in and the next night we had a barn.